My mom wouldn't take my son to the hospital while I was away on a work trip because she had brunch plans with my golden child sister and told me to deal with my burden alone. So I did, and now she's sending $10,000 worth of gifts for my son. But this was the final straw. Can you imagine having to choose between your child's life and your own mother? 4 years, I told myself I could handle my mom's toxic behavior, her favoritism, her bitterness. But then, she crossed a line so unforgivable, so dangerous, it put my son's life at risk. And that's when everything changed. My mother, Sylvia, bless her heart, has always been a challenge. Ever since my dad passed when I was little, leaving her to raise me and my younger sister, Jane, she's been consumed by bitterness. People excused it, of course. A single mom, trauma, you know the drill. But I was just a kid, full of life, always smiling. I never got that kindness back. I practically raised Jane myself, entertaining her, looking after her, just hoping for a crumb of my mom's affection. She'd acknowledge me, sure, but that was it. Just crumbs. Eventually, I just snapped. I became the ungrateful child she always seemed to expect. By 13, I was working part-time, doing chores, babysitting Jane, only for Mom to scrutinize everything I did, finding fault in the tiniest details. The fights were relentless, so I built walls. I became aloof. Jane tried to break through, but I just couldn't. It hurt too much. Soon, it was obvious. Jane was the golden child. Mom even skipped my high school graduation because Jane was feeling a little under the weather. That's a story for another day, though. The second I could, I was out. Moved to another city for college, went full no contact with Mom. Neither of us tried. Jane and I kept up occasional texts, just casual stuff. Years later, I got married, had my son Jaden. He was my whole world, but he also had severe, life-threatening allergies to 10 different foods. We adopted a vegan lifestyle, doctor's orders. Things were okay. Jane and I still texted, but we weren't close. Then, life threw another curveball. My marriage became abusive. I filed for divorce, packed up Jaden, and moved back to my hometown. Jane, bless her, reached out wanting to meet Jaden. I invited her over. She showed up with Mom. Mom walked in, acting like nothing had ever happened, like we were just best friends catching up. It was surreal, deeply unsettling. But Jaden, my sweet boy, he was so happy to have new company, so I swallowed my unease. Later, after Jaden was asleep, I confronted Mom about the years of silence. Jane, ever the peacemaker, interrupted, apologizing for Mom. She called Mom's behavior inappropriate, but pleaded for me to give her a chance. "They're the only family you have left," she said. I hesitated, but then I saw Mom actually pleading to be a part of Jaden's life, and I remembered how happy he was. I thought, maybe, just maybe, I decided to give her a shot. For a few months, things were manageable. I found a hybrid marketing job, which was a godsend with Jaden. Mom started coming over every weekend, ostensibly to babysit, to help. But instead, she started taking over my house. My house, as if I was living under her roof. I let it slide for a bit, thinking, this is just her way. But her controlling nature was escalating. I knew I'd explode if I confronted her directly, and I didn't want Jaden to see that. So I asked Jane to intervene. She agreed, said she'd talk to Mom that very day. I felt a glimmer of relief. What happened next was pure hell. Mom called me the next day, absolutely livid, ranting about how I should have talked to her directly, like an adult, instead of complaining to my sister. I tried to tell her it wasn't a good time, but she just kept going. So, I put her on speaker and went back to work. She must have realized she was talking to herself because she eventually hung up. Later that evening, Jane called, telling me Mom was disappointed and had cried about the call. My blood boiled. I told Jane, crystal clear, that I was not going to be pushed around like I was as a kid. I told her I needed Mom out of my life, and Jaden's for a while. Jane tried to talk me out of limiting Mom's time with Jaden, but eventually conceded. Mom later texted a brief apology for misbehaving and promising to keep her distance. A year passed. Jane graduated. Jaden turned 4. I even started letting trusted babysitters, mostly Jane, watch him during emergencies. I still saw Mom occasionally, mostly at family events. Things seemed calm. Then one day, I had an urgent work situation. I needed a babysitter, fast. I called Jane. She had a job interview, but she suggested Mom could watch him. My stomach dropped. Her? After everything? But it was the only viable option. Mom was thrilled. I gave her a detailed briefing on Jaden's 10 life-threatening allergies. What to do if something went wrong. But she cut me off, blurting out, "You can trust me. I raised you after all." Still, I handed her the cheat sheet, begged her to call if anything happened. She nodded and I rushed out. My work was maybe 2-3 hours, tops. Easy enough, right? For someone who just bragged about her parenting skills. An hour and a half later, my phone rang. Reached the hospital ASAP. My heart slammed against my ribs. I practically flew there. Jaden, my little boy, had an allergic reaction. He'd eaten cookies with gluten, one of his 10 deadly allergies. The doctor said he was safe now, but it could have gone so wrong. Fury, pure, unadulterated fury, coursed through me. I told Mom to wait outside. Back home, with Jane already there to comfort Jaden, the real fight began. Mom tried to blame Jaden, saying he must have snuck the cookie when she wasn't looking. But the truth slipped out. She admitted she hadn't listened to me, hadn't even checked the cheat sheet. I was done. Absolutely, irrevocably done. I told her there was no way she would ever be near Jaden again without my direct supervision. She dissolved into tears, screaming about how it was just a mistake, how harsh I was being. But I stood my ground. This wasn't about feelings anymore. This was my child's life. She left. Jane followed her out. Later, Jane texted, accusing me of being too harsh. I shot back. You try defending her, and you'll face the same consequences. She backed down. Fast. I hired a permanent, vetted babysitter, Nancy. Jane's visits dwindled. Our relationship went back to rare texts, no personal life discussions. And honestly, I was okay with it. Months passed. Life found a new rhythm. Then, another Saturday, another work emergency. Jaden had his monthly doctor's appointment. Nancy was at the hospital with her own child. Desperate, I called Jane. She answered, then claimed a work commitment, suggesting Mom could babysit. My jaw tightened. I was about to remind her of the last disaster. But before I could, Mom's voice, loud and clear, cut through the phone. Jane hadn't realized I was on speaker. Mom was ranting, saying she wouldn't babysit Jaden, even if she was paid, because dealing with him and his condition was a burden. She went on to blame me for not being a good mother, for not keeping the burden to myself. My blood ran cold. The sheer audacity. I ended the call with Jane, immediately called Mom. She picked up, instantly started apologizing, claiming it was just frustration, that she was supposed to meet Jane for brunch. I cut her off. I wish she would stay away from me and the burden forever. She tried to patch things up, but her apology felt hollow, laced with fear. Fear of losing Jaden, not genuine regret. I hung up. Jane didn't defend her this time. She just apologized for lying about work. I ignored her texts. I took a rain check on work, took Jaden to his appointment myself. From that day on, I vowed, no more contact with my family. Jaden kept asking about Grandma. It broke my heart, but I redirected him. His 5th birthday approached. We picked a kindergarten. I sent invites, including Jane, but not Mom. Jane showed up with a huge bag of expensive-looking gifts. I told her not to spend so much. She said the gift wrap box was hers, the rest were for Mom. I asked her to take them back. She refused, saying she wouldn't get between Mom and my feud. She just wanted me to consider Mom's gesture. And that's when the guilt crept in. Had I been too harsh? Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe Jaden really should see his grandma. I decided I'd call Mom after the party, talk things out. After everyone left, Jaden, naturally, dove into the big bag from his grandma. He pulled out a plushie. Then, as I reached in for more, my stomach clenched. Multiple boxes of cookies, from an expensive bakery, full of ingredients Jaden was severely allergic to. She was so focused on a grand gesture, she hadn't even bothered to check if they were safe. I hid them, told Jaden the plushie was all that was there. But he threw a tantrum. He saw them. He wanted a cookie. I was furious, desperate. I called Mom. She answered, clearly expecting an apology, a thank you. I told her her gift was dangerous, asked her to tell Jaden it wasn't for him. She flipped. She started bringing up how she raised me, how if I wasn't such a weird hippie with my vegan lifestyle, Jaden wouldn't have these issues. My jaw dropped. Her audacity was unbelievable. I didn't have time to argue. I forced her to talk to Jaden. She complained, but she did it. He listened. I thanked her for de-escalating and hung up before she could start again. I fell into a deep rut. Her words, blaming me for Jaden's health, triggered so much childhood trauma. I called Jane, hoping for comfort, for understanding. Instead, she just said, "That's just how Mom is. Let it go." That was it. The last thread. I decided right then I wouldn't discuss my problems with Jane anymore. I was done. I needed Mom to understand. The next day, she showed up at my door with another gift for Jaden. I looked her in the eye. "Since you're so unhappy with my life choices, so much so that you'd risk your grandson's life, you don't deserve to be in ours." She immediately started with the guilt trip, "Though I raised you through hardship speech, how I was stealing her grandson." I held my ground. "I don't want you around anymore." She asked about the expensive gifts. I went inside, grabbed the entire bag of presents, brought them back out, and wrote a check right there for the plushie Jaden had opened. No strings attached, I told her. She called me petty. I didn't care. She left, disappointed, telling Jaden was hard. I said Grandma was gone for some time on personal plans. He accepted it. Then Jane called, hysterical. Mom was throwing a tantrum, sick, after returning from my house. Jane wanted me to apologize, to mend things. I told her, "That's Mom. She'll be fine." Jane called me unempathetic and hung up. I was fine with that, too. Our relationship was clearly affected, but frankly, I thought Jane was to blame for enabling Mom. A lot of you asked about my relationship with Jane and how I could stand it. The truth is, I was mature enough to know it wasn't her fault that Mom favored her. Jane was always the easygoing one, trying to balance us both. She was never problematic, just non-confrontational, which is why she told me to let it go. But I realized it was time she understood that relationships can't be maintained by being a doormat, which she was about to learn firsthand. A week later, I hadn't heard from Jane about Mom. I assumed things were fine, but knowing my mother, I suspected something else was brewing. So, Jaden and I took a short vacation before his kindergarten started. Before we left, I got a call from my paternal aunt, someone I rarely spoke to because most of my relatives had either advocated for Mom's behavior or turned a blind eye. This call was unusual. My aunt immediately launched into a tirade. Mom was in the hospital, and I hadn't even visited her. Mom had called her, and other siblings, bad-mouthing me for abandoning her. I didn't have the energy to explain. I told her it was complicated and to stay out of it. She started screaming names. I hung up. I blocked her, hoping it sent a message. Our vacation was incredible. I stayed off tech, just focused on Jaden. When we got back, my phone was full of missed calls from other relatives. The mail had nasty letters accusing me of being an inconsiderate daughter and a terrible mother. Mom was still playing the victim, spinning her narrative. Jane was my only option. I called her, left a voice note, warning her about the harassment, telling her to keep Mom in check. She called back that night, acting like nothing had happened. I wasn't having it. I cut straight to the point. She finally admitted Mom was practically begging to talk to me. I initially refused, but Jane kept pushing. I reluctantly agreed. Mom was overjoyed on the call, acting like everything was normal. I cut her off. "Why do you want to talk to me?" She claimed she'd been suffering in silence since I cut her off from Jaden. Funny, considering all the bad-mouthing. But then she said it. She'd accept any conditions if she could be part of Jaden's life. It hit me then how attached she'd become to him. As much as I wanted to sympathize, I couldn't forget how she'd endangered his life twice and never truly taken responsibility. I told her no. There wasn't much more to say. I hung up. The next few days were quiet. Then, an invitation to a childhood friend's wedding. I usually skip these, but my friend insisted. And I hadn't considered Jane would be there. Or Mom. Jaden was thrilled to see Grandma. Mom, for her part, controlled her excitement around me. My mommy radar was on high alert. I kept Jaden close. Mom asked to talk. I said no. I didn't want to cause a scene. But Jaden, seeing his grandma, started throwing a fit, wanting to sit with her. To avoid escalating his tantrum, I agreed to sit at their table. Jaden took it upon himself to manage Grandma. The night went fine. Mom was civil. Jaden was happy. Jane and I even caught up. She apologized for blaming me, and we cleared the air. As we headed to the parking lot, Mom stopped me. "Did the evening go poorly?" she asked. "It was fine," I said. Then she pressed, "Based on these few hours, can I be part of your lives again?" My heart hardened. "I only allowed you to be near Jaden tonight because it was the only practical option. You've endangered his life before, and you've never truly taken responsibility. I won't let you near him again, even if it makes me the villain in his eyes." She started to cry right there. Jane tried to calm her, guide her to the car. I knew I had to leave. I rushed Jaden to the car. He was upset, scared by Grandma's outburst, clinging to me. Mom tried to coax him into going with her, but he just buried his face in my side. Her crying turned into wailing. People started to gather. I drove away. After putting Jaden to bed, I called Jane. She spoke in hushed tones, asking me to call back later. The next morning, after Jaden was fed and chores done, I sat him down. I explained that he wouldn't see Grandma anymore, and that he shouldn't interact with anyone outside school without my permission, especially Jane or Grandma. I think the previous night helped him understand. Jane called soon after. Mom had become hysterical at the mention of my name. She was concerned, worried Mom's behavior might indicate a bigger issue. I agreed. We talked about a restraining order, even moving, if Mom's behavior didn't improve. Well, here's the final update. This issue, thankfully, has been resolved. Jane wisely got Mom checked out. Diagnosis: severe bipolar disorder. The psychiatrist recommended admitting her to a private mental health institution. Due to her age, and for better care, Jane agreed. Surprisingly, Mom understood, accepted the doctor's advice. The institution is in another state, so Mom and Jane will be leaving next week. I offered to help financially, but Mom, apparently, is covering the cost. Jane also passed on a message from Mom to Jaden. She'll get well soon, and see him when his mother allows it. It's been a long, painful journey, and frankly, I'm still processing it all. Have you ever had to draw such a hard line with family to protect your child? What would you have done in my shoes? Let me know in the comments below.